So much of the work that we do at Uplift Appalachia is meant to motivate and equip churches to address addiction and help people that are in recovery stay in recovery, and develop ministry built around people that are struggling from all sorts of past mental health problems or traumatic history, different kinds of adversity. And a lot of that still comes with answering a lot of questions. There are a lot of reasons that people pause and ask questions about why is this the right thing for me, or lots of questions about concerns. And I want to take some time now to address one of those questions that comes up so often and try to demystify the work that we're doing and hopefully get people really ready to make a big impact in the world. Let's get intrinsically motivated. It's been a while since we've done one of these episodes where I just kind of get to sit and rant and rave and talk a little bit, but there were just a few things that happened recently that have left me really wanting to address all the different concerns that we hear about, the different questions that people ask about why they should get involved in recovery ministry, or what it's going to cost as they do that. What are the risks, that people are going to face? And a lot of the reasons that people, and we've done survey data, a lot of the reasons that people tend not to want to get started doing recovery ministry are they don't understand addiction, or they're afraid they're going to make it worse, or they're worried about, the risk factor, the danger that could come with working with somebody who's struggling with addiction or finding recovery, all of these sorts of things. And I just think it's really important that we answer some of those concerns. So we're going to do a few episodes here where we just address each of those concerns kind of individually. But I want to start with this idea of risk because as of recording this, just this last weekend at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, there was another attempt to incite some sort of violence directed at our president and at his administration. And I'm not trying to turn this into a political podcast. I don't want to get into the politics involved in everything, but I do want to talk about the response that the president made after that event, after another person made an attempt on his life or the lives of people that are working with him. For whatever their motivation, this president has found himself in quite a few dangerous situations where he was under a great deal of risk, a lot of threat. And I think the way that he addressed that when he talked to the press afterwards really demonstrates a level of leadership, but also a level of perspective that I think is one of the things that we talk about when we try to get churches motivated to serve in addiction ministries or start a recovery group or drive somebody who's in recovery from their house to their job, these sorts of things. And I think there's this question about risk. And in that press conference, one of the reporters was asking him, this sort of thing keeps happening to you. Are you concerned? Are you afraid of the ramifications of continuing to do what you do? And I think the answer that the president gave was actually very clarifying.
Thank you, President Trump. There's a report in the New York Post that this assailant assembled his weapon somewhere on site at the hotel. What do you think about that? And I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, you go through the people that have gone through this, where they got them. But the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names there, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughing stock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that.
Are you concerned about political violence? This could be politically motivated.
All violence. I'm concerned about everything. Look, but I can't be so concerned that you can't function. No, I'm here. It's a dangerous profession. You know, I tell the story, race car drivers, I think it's very dangerous. So if you take 1% and then take about 10% of 1%, just to break it down very easily, they die. So much less than 1%, 10% of 1%. I think bull riding is very dangerous. If you take about the same, 10% of 1%, much less than 1%. But if you take presidents, it's 5.8%. And about 8% are shot at. So nobody told me this was such a dangerous profession. If Marco would have told me, maybe I wouldn't have run. Maybe I would have said, I'll take a pass. No, it's a dangerous profession, but I don't view it that way. Look, I'm here to do a job. It's part of the job. It is a dangerous, I can't imagine that there's any profession that's more dangerous. But I love the country, and I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the job we've done. You see what's happened. We have a great country. We've got, I think, the most successful, the hottest country anywhere in the world. This happened over a period of just a year, and we're going to do great things. But with that come risks. There's no question about it. Yeah.
A couple of things that he said in that answer that I think are really helpful. Even that very beginning where he says, you can't be so concerned that you can't function. I think a lot of times fear can paralyze us, or mistrust, or just a sense of being risk averse, wanting to avoid putting ourselves in any sort of risky situation. But the thing that I see throughout this whole remark, this whole answer that the president made, is that he is so motivated for the good of the country. And again, I'm not trying to make this political. Whether you think that what his motivations are for the country are good or bad is kind of irrelevant to the point that I want to make. If you truly believe that he believes that what he is doing is for the good of the country, that's the point that I want us to try to focus on. He's saying, I'm so motivated for the good of the country that I'm willing to take on those risks. And I think that sometimes we can lose sight of the why we are doing the things that we're doing, or the what it is that's motivating us, or we maybe try to avoid seeing the risk because we know that once we see it, we won't want to do it. So that we sometimes throw ourselves into work that we're not prepared for mentally, or we don't understand the realistic situation that we're potentially putting ourselves in, so that when things do get difficult, we back off. But I think, and even he quipped in that quote, that maybe he wouldn't have run if he understood it. I take that as tongue in cheek. I think you can't know that you're going for the most powerful job in the world and not know that there's risk that comes along with that. Risk of losing money, or risk of losing, popularity, or risk of even losing your life, which has happened to so many people that have put themselves in these kind of high profile positions. But that motivation, he said, is that he wants to make the country great, to use his language. And because he thinks that he's doing something that is making a change is the reason that he's seeing such great pushback, because there are so many people who disagree with his understanding of what's going to be good for the sake of the country. And so if you are going to shake things up, if you are going to make waves, if you are going to kind of rattle foundations, there's going to be great deals of pushback, and with that comes risk. But it seems to be that in his response, the calmness, the leadership that he is trying to show there is that he understands there's risk, but that's not going to stop him from doing what he knows needs to be done. Now, setting the politics aside, that same kind of concern for the good of other people is what we want to see completely overwhelm the life of the church. We want people to be so motivated for the good of people who are struggling with addiction that they can't help but do something. But again, we're not wanting people to do this without understanding the reality of the situation that they're putting themselves in. Luke 14:27 and 28 says, "Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple." So even right there, it's already suggesting to follow after Jesus carries risk. You're going to have to bear a cross, an implement of torture, as you follow him. If you're not willing to go all the way in following Christ, you're not ready to be his disciple. And then he goes on, "For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it?" And this is one of the things that we talk about with churches so many times, is that we need to understand what we're getting ourselves into, especially with regard to helping people who have faced lots of trauma, adversity, or struggling with addiction, whatever that may be. Because if we don't understand the realities of what that work can get us into, the mess that might come along with it, we're going to give up early. If you go on in Luke there, it talks about if you don't finish it, then people are going to laugh at you. You know, it's going to actually make you look worse had you not followed through on the work that you set out to do. And so we have to understand that there is inherent risk in the things that we do. I've used this quote from the NIH for a few years now. It says there's a risk in everything we do. As individuals, we carry out risk assessments subconsciously all the time. For example, where, how, and when to cross the road. And I think that's such a great reminder that just getting in a car to go to work, just choosing to eat that one unhealthy thing instead of that one healthy thing is a risk assessment. You're saying, in this moment, I would prefer to eat this hamburger rather than this piece of grilled chicken. And I'm not trying to say we shouldn't eat the hamburger or we should only eat the grilled chicken, or we shouldn't eat the chicken at all, or we should only drink the water, or we shouldn't drink the Diet Coke, whatever it may be. But everything that we do, every decision we make, every choice is some level of risk assessment, and we're willing to take different risks for the sake of different outcomes. We're willing to risk riding in a car because having a car is a much more efficient method of travel than walking or a horse-drawn carriage. We're willing to fly because it will save us that much time. It is much more efficient, even though there's risk that comes with that. Hey guys, just going to jump in here real quick. We don't ever do this. In fact, we've never done this, but I would love to invite you, if you're finding value in the content that we're putting out here on the Intrinsically Motivated podcast, if you wouldn't mind to follow or subscribe or share or anything that would work for whatever platform you are listening to this on, just to help us kind of continue to grow the platform that we're putting this information out. We think it would be helpful to more people to hear, and you could help us do that. So if you can subscribe or follow, we would really appreciate it. So all of our lives, we're making these risk assessments. We're making risk assessments just like that example I just gave of crossing a road. We're making a risk assessment of putting ourselves in the company of certain people. And we want people to understand there is risk that we are potentially taking on when we step into the realm of addiction ministry. However, if the church is so motivated for the good of the people that we're wanting to do, then that risk will pale in comparison to our need to do something to improve the lives of the people that we are being placed right in front of. I also love, this is my favorite quote, and I use it all the time, and I'm going to use it again, and you'll hear me say it so many times, from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. When C.S. Lewis is talking, the kids are talking with the beavers, and they're saying, we have to go meet Aslan. He's the king. And then they realize that Aslan is a lion. Aslan is the great lion. And Susan says, oh, I thought he was a man. Is he safe? I shall feel rather nervous about meeting a lion. And Mr. Beaver says, safe? Who said anything about safe? Of course he isn't safe. But he's good. He's the king, I tell you. And I think to follow after Jesus, or in this case, to follow after Aslan, is going to carry great risk. We talk about all the time, because we have our ride ministry, and we say we want people to give people rides to help them get where they need to go and have the opportunity to build relationships as they do that. And that is that question, and is that safe? And I always come back with, well, in this organization, with this program that we're doing, these are all guys who've been vetted, and they're all living in sober living communities, and they are well monitored and constantly drug tested and all of these things. So I can say there is a relative level of safety. However, I'm never going to say that one thing that you might choose to do is particularly safe. Just like we said, crossing the road isn't 100% safe. We're never guaranteed safety. In fact, if we're going to get things done, we're often guaranteed there's going to be mess that comes along with it. You've heard me quote Proverbs 14:4 again, probably multiple times. Where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of the ox. If we're going to get anything done, there's going to be a mess that comes along with it. If you want a squeaky clean barn, don't have those beasts of burden that are going to let you get anything finished, actually have you accomplish anything. And so as we're talking, or as you're thinking about what would it look like for me to get involved in some sort of addiction ministry, you're hearing the things that we're talking about at Uplift. I want to do something. I want to see something start at my church. And there are going to be concerns. Is that going to be safe? Is there going to be fallback? Is there going to be negative things that could happen to the church? What is it going to look like if all of a sudden people who have been recently unchurched and recently haven't even been sober are all of a sudden, joining us and being a part of our community? Is that going to have some negative impact? And I would say there's risk that there could be some sort of negative impact. If you're going to get into foster care ministry, there's going to be mess that comes with that. If you're going to get into addiction ministry, there's going to be mess that comes with that. If you're going to start any sort of work where you are involving yourself in the lives of people who are fallen and affected by the effects of sin, there's going to be risk, there's going to be mess, and you're going to have to ask yourself, do I love these people? Do I love this mission that I feel that I've been given enough that I'm willing to take on that risk for the good of those other people? And so, again, I think this is a really important question for us to be asking right now, because I think we've just had an amazing example of a leader who, under fire, continues to say, I will continue to press forward. I won't be deterred because I want to see something good happen for the sake of the people that I'm responsible for. And I think that is a question that you should ask yourself as you're listening to this. Are you so moved by the power of the gospel and the call for the church to go and serve people who are struggling, even if there's going to be great risk, even if there's a chance that you could be harmed, or even if there's a chance that you could lose your reputation because of the people that you put yourself in the lives of, or whatever that risk may be? Are you willing to forego the security, the comfort, the knowledge that you have everything under control, or you can understand everything that's coming next for the sake of someone else? Is it safe? Who said anything about it being safe? Of course it isn't safe, but it's good.